Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
And it's 5:07. Good morning. It's Wednesday here, the 7th day of January in your nation's capital, as we continue our march toward July 4th, the 250th anniversary of this nation declaring independence from those tea-drinking limeys. Thanks for joining us. It's 6:05. We'll also be joined by Marjorie Dannenfelser. She's the president of SBA Pro-Life America. Yeah, we've got the big March for Life coming up, of course, in January, but we want to preempt things here because we're hearing some troubling things from Republicans about the Hyde Amendment and some negotiation over abortion funding and health care. Also at 6:35, Cal Thomas will join us. 7:35 brings us Jason Isaac. He's with the American Energy Institute. Stunning numbers yesterday about gas prices. A huge announcement from Trump about Venezuelan oil. What all that might mean, well, we'll ask the expert. Then at 8:05, Jim Hansen will give us his retired military perspective on the Mark Kelly story. And finally, at 8:35, Governor Scott Walker, Young America's Foundation. We lost a good one yesterday. The passing of Ronald Reagan's son, Michael Reagan. We'll get Governor Walker to reflect on that and the news of the day. That's all coming up. And if that weren't enough, we are joined today, because Julie is feeling under the weather still, we are joined today by the one and only Bethany Mandel. Where have you been, Bethany Mandel?
I forsaked you.
You did.
Forsook.
I feel forsooken. It's been a long time since I felt forsaken, but I'm a married man now. Hey, you had quite an odyssey, literally an odyssey. You were, may I say, you and the entire Mandel family, wandering Jews.
Yes, wandering Jews, and it felt like it. If I never have to hand wash underwear in a sink and lay it out to dry again, I will die happy.
Why this early in the morning are you trying to
you just forsook yourself?
You know what turns me on, Bethany. For God's sake, that
no
kind
one
of talk.
listens to this show,
Let's
right? Like no one's going to clip it and send it to our spouses.
Suddenly want to have a glass of cognac and get in the mood. All right, because you are homeschoolers, you and Seth Mandel and your gaggle of children. This was my favorite thing about homeschooling my little ones. You don't have to fit into a regular school vacation schedule. You can just up and go.
Great. It's so great.
Everything becomes a lesson. And boy, talk about a history and geography and cultural lesson. You took the whole brood for how many weeks to Greece and Israel?
We were gone pretty much 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It was too long, if I'm just being honest, because, again, hand washing your underwear and laying it out, it gets old.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's true. But how long in Greece, then how long in Israel?
So we were in Greece for a week and then Israel for 5. Okay. And then our way home was also an odyssey.
Really?
And so because of the way the flights worked, whatever, not very interesting part of the story, I had to buy our Greece leg separate from our Israel leg. So on our way home, we flew to Greece, stayed there for the night, then flew from Athens to Copenhagen, stayed there for a night, and then flew home. That was unpleasant. I don't recommend 2 overnights.
Layovers are no fun with that many kids, especially if it's like you get to a new place and you probably didn't have time to actually do things.
No.
There. It's like, nope, we're just here to sleep.
Yep, yeah. No, and it was funny because I planned Copenhagen to actually do one thing. And we got there, and after 6 weeks in Greece and Israel, when we got off the plane in Copenhagen, the children were like, oh, this is what cold feels like. Oh, I'm not interested in being outside. And
you go to the brewery tour and do the tasting of the Carlsberg.
The second their skin felt the air, they were like, they recoiled. I had packed jackets, hats, gloves, everything for this one stupid night in Copenhagen. And the second we stepped outside after we got out of the airport, they were like, so where's the hotel exactly?
See, my mother would have dragged my frozen butt down that sidewalk no matter what. You will do this and you will enjoy it. I wouldn't enjoy it, but it doesn't matter.
After 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 kids, I was like, okay, fine. We'll just go to the hotel. It's fine. Whatever.
So there's much to learn here. First of all, I still think there's a lot of Americans who would love to go to the Holy Land. They would love to walk in the footsteps of our Judeo-Christian forefathers, and they're scared. They think that it's still, target number one for Hamas, that there's a suicide bomber around every corner, that it's not safe. clearly you brought all your children there, and did you at any time feel like there was some sort of danger of that sort of thing happening, or do you think Israel is pretty locked down now?
So there was a terrorist attack like 15 minutes away. It was...
Oh, I remember. you...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so,
right.
but it was someone stabbed. Like, that can happen here in Washington. Someone stabs someone else waiting for the bus. I'm like, well, that happens in Washington.
Exactly. Go to a Nats game.
Yeah,
blocks
exactly.
away. That's a nightly occurrence in Navy Yard.
The driving is the most dangerous thing. Israeli drivers are something else. And let me tell
I've
you,
been to Brooklyn. You're right. Yes.
if you rent a car in Israel, get the primo insurance package because you will use it. My favorite story that when it was happening, thought to myself, I can't wait to tell Larry O'Connor this story. We went to Nazareth on Christmas Eve, and I was like, this is going to be magical. It's magic.
I saw you post about that you were going to a Christmas market on Christmas Eve in Nazareth. That's right. What was it like?
Well, so I put the...
Not so magical.
Not so magical.
Apparently.
So I put the church into my Waze, and we were very close to Nazareth. We were like 15 minutes away. So I put the church into Waze, and we all went. And we were going down an alley that was getting progressively more narrow. And I got to the point where I was like, I cannot continue. I don't fit.
Was it not meant for cars?
So it was meant for cars, but apparently in some Arab neighborhoods, they don't follow like building codes or anything. And so Waze thought it was a road, and it was once, but then it stopped being a road, and Waze didn't get that memo. Yeah. So at that point, I had gone like 3/4 of a mile down this basically alley.
And there's no way to turn around.
There's no way to turn around.
Oh, gosh.
So I had scratched the side of the car trying to get down so I had like this whole massive scratch down the side of my passenger side. And these two Arab guys came up to me, and they were like, so you're in a jam? And I'm like, quite literally, sirs, I am in a jam. And they said, so there was a guy who was like my age, basically, who spoke perfect English, and then there was a 17-year-old kid who spoke zero English. And the 40-year-old guy was like, he can back you out. He's very good. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I love it. Here's my keys. I guess you're not going very far because you're going to have to back out. Right. And so Seth stayed in the car with the kids and the 17-year-old. I have never seen anything like what he did. He backed out down an alley 3/4 of a mile with just the rear camera. And it was incredible. And I walked behind with the 40-year-old, and we were chatting. And I was nervous because we're Jewish and we're, in an Arab neighborhood. And so I channeled you, Larry, and I pretended to be Catholic. And I was like, God bless you. Jesus loves you. And I really laid it on too thick, honestly.
No attention to my husband's yarmulke.
So he had a hat on. He had a hat on. But I laid it on so thick, and it was not believable. Like, there's no way that first of all, we didn't know when Mass was. We were late for Mass, and no one is. Oh
no, actually, that's quite Catholic of you.
It's true. With 6 kids. But the number one giveaway was there was nothing going on in Nazareth this year because it still hasn't recovered from the war. So any Christian was in Bethlehem.
It looks like, I was going to say, it looks like they put most of their energy to make sure Bethlehem was in fact, Bethlehem was more vibrant than it's been in like a decade.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Yeah, Nazareth comes into the picture a little after the birthday. But,
so there was
how
nothing.
Cool. All right. I want to hear more about this, and you've written about it too, by the way, over, is this at the Examiner?
Yeah, the Washington Examiner.
I want to hear a little bit more about this trip, about the educational experience, the cultural experience, and what it's like in Israel these days, because I want to go this year. So we'll get back up to speed with Bethany Mandel as she sort of, gets her sea legs under her again.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
A nearly 6-week vacation, educational work trip. The Mandel family, Bethany, our guest host this morning, along with her husband, Seth, from Commentary, and your 6 children, all bundled up. Your youngest is now, I want to say 3?
Yeah, he just turned 3.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
Remember that morning when I co-hosted with you when I was pregnant?
Yes. And we hadn't told anyone, but...
We, as if you're involved.
You hadn't told anyone,
Yes. And I said, please don't make a joke about eating crackers on air because I am actually pregnant.
Right, exactly. I wanted to say something because you were exhibiting all of the behaviors of a pregnant woman. I've been around plenty, and I felt very honored that I was amongst the first to know. That was 3 years ago.
4, because I was pregnant.
Yeah, right. And so there you are. You've got all the kids in tow, and obviously, and you also have one of your children was celebrating their bat mitzvah, which is incredible to have that memory of doing that in Israel, in the Holy Land. So, did you work your homeschool curriculum around this trip? Were you able to weave in a lot of education into this? Homeschooling my kids, I'll tell you, they remember this stuff more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, my 6-year-old knows so much about Herod now. They're all Herod obsessed because he was a psycho. That's
which Herod, the Jesus era, or the birth era Herod, or the crucifixion era Herod?
The one who built everything.
The birth era Herod. Yeah, okay. Rebuilt the temple.
Yes, that one. He's a psycho, and so my kids loved hearing about I mean, they're it's all interesting. It's not like just names and dates. Like, these people were truly psychopathic. And
did they pick up on the parallels between Herod during Jesus' era and Pharaoh during Moses' era? And I just wonder if this prompts questions about, who is this guy Jesus that they're celebrating the birthday? And
no, my Jewish children have zero thoughts and interest in Jesus.
Well, except that you were there for Christmas, and there was obviously a lot going on.
So, yes and no. I mean, very much less than here. And so we saw a couple Christmas trees. But the only thing that they noted was that they learned on this trip that the year 0 was the year Jesus was born. And they were like, what? That seems off. Why would we do that? Why don't we just have a timeline? Why would we have 0 and then -1? Why don't we just start time?
Well, it's not quite that simple, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. So the BC and CE thing was, or AD, whatever, that was a little confusing for them. So it was one of my favorite moments. I have a Substack and a podcast called The Mom Wars. The
Mom Wars.
And I wrote about our trip, sort of gave our itinerary on the Mom Wars. And they, my oldest daughter, my bat mitzvah girl, who is such a brown noser, was sort of lamenting. She's like, I kind of miss home and school and doing science and reading other books.
Give us more homework, Mom.
Yes,
please.
Yes. And her brothers were like, I'm sorry, what?
Punching her in the back seat.
What are you doing? Why would you say that right now? And I said to her, this is all like a giant field trip. This is all, kind of like school. And my oldest son, who's 10, looked at me and he had this lightning bolt realization and was like, oh my God, this whole thing has been educational. And I was like, yeah, bud. Yeah, that was kind of the point
here.
It's
all about learning,
He
in
was
real time. Instead of reading it in a book,
He was betrayed. He was like, wait a second.
How dare you?
I thought this was just fun. You just snuck learning in here.
You had an article just posted yesterday about the Temple Mount, and I'd love for you to spend a little bit of time on that as well. Of course, everybody knows, I hope everybody knows, the recent history of the Temple Mount, in that when Muslim invaders took over Israel for far too long, they built their own mosque there. And they now call it one of their holy sites. But the Temple Mount is still there, and it's obvious that was. Although I believe Muslims still deny that the temple was there. They won't. Yeah. So tell us what you saw there and what you learned.
So it was a real red pill moment. So it can be very contentious to get up there. It's not. I was nervous bringing my kids there, but I was assured by the person who brought us that it was safe.
Can I jump in real fast?
Yeah.
I remember in the early 2000s, when Sharon became prime minister, it was a huge controversy that he went and visited the Temple Mount, right? And it was like, because up until then, 40 years into Israel's existence, it was controversial to go and visit this holy site of the temple. And when Prime Minister Sharon said, "Screw it, I'm going," that became a big international thing, right?
Yeah. It's very contentious, and October 7th was called by Hamas the Al-Aqsa flood. Al-Aqsa is the name of that mosque up there, and so they say that October 7th was a response to Jews trying to reclaim their claim on this part of Jerusalem, this tiny little plot of Jerusalem, which is the site of the first two temples, and, God willing, the site of the third temple, whenever that may be. So it's a very contentious site. There's often explosions of violence, of whatever, both on the site and then, in response to things that happen there. And so it was fascinating because we happened to go this is like maybe too much information, but I think it's interesting. So you have to, if you're an observant Jew, which we are, you have to go to a ritual bath, a mikveh, before you go.
Sure. Okay.
And so because of cycles and whatever, I had to go at the week of Hanukkah. That was like the week that I was able to go there.
Say no more.
There you go.
Get it. Yeah.
So so we were there on Hanukkah, and we went with our 6 kids, and we went with a Talmud professor from Bar Ilan University. His name is Jeffrey Wolf. Very nice guy. And he brought us, and he's an expert actually in the site. And so he brought us, and it was the week of Hanukkah. And what was fascinating was Israeli police were so controlling of our group, and very hostile. And we went up there, and a man lit a tiny menorah, and he was arrested by Israeli police because they control what kind of Jewish prayer happens up there, and the extent of the Jewish prayer that they allow has expanded a great deal over the last 2 years. I think because a lot of Israelis are kind of sick of the Muslims dictating how they're allowed to practice Jewishly on this most holy site, and so they're expanding their willingness to, allow for different kinds of prayer, laying on the ground, prostrating yourself, speaking out loud, moving your lips. I mean, there was a time where the Israeli police wouldn't allow people to move their lips in prayer. That was how tightly controlled it was. And so now you're allowed to sing out loud, whatever. And it was fascinating because after the day after we went, Hamas, their social media reported on Israeli settlers storming the site. And I was like, I was just there with my 6 kids. I didn't really storm anything. And it was funny because I was thinking to myself, the only violence I saw was an Israeli guy getting arrested by Israeli police. That's the extent of what I would classify extremism.
But that's how the media covered it.
The Hamas media, yes.
Right, yes.
But they parrot the same talking points. The regular media parrot Hamas's talking points.
Oh, yeah. The Ministry of Truth coming out of Hamas. Yeah.
Yes. So it was a real red pill moment for me, honestly, because I thought to myself the whole time, and my kids did, my older kids did also, like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we letting these people dictate how Jews pray at our most holy site?
Right.
And it's because, it's
and Israeli forces are upholding it because they're just interested in keeping the peace at this point. That's their main focus.
And a lot of them aren't religious, and so they kind of see all of this as kooky anyway.
Amazing. I love that this was a red pill, as if Bethany Mandel needed a red pill moment on issues like this. Fascinating stuff. All right. Well, welcome home. Welcome back from that great trip. We'll look forward to reading more. Obviously, a lot happened on this trip. You'll be writing about it and chronicling it. We'll get to the news of the day, though, and things that are going on in our world here in our hemisphere coming up next. Coming up, for years, Republicans have prohibited federal funding for abortion. But yesterday, President Trump suggested that there may be some flexibility on that. We'll give you the details next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:37. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 6:05, we're going to speak with the president of SBA Pro-Life America about this topic we're about to hit. So stay tuned. 6:35, Cal Thomas. 7:35, Jason Isaac of the American Energy Institute about gas prices and Venezuelan oil. 8:05, Jim Hansen on Mark Kelly. 8:35, Governor Scott Walker on the passing of Michael Reagan. It's Larry O'Connor, and I don't care what other people say. I really like Bethany Mandel, who's with us all morning long. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. So what exactly are people saying? Did things happen while I was gone?
Oh, no, it's just
Did
the
you
usual.
defend me?
Of course. What am I, dying day? Are you kidding? All right, so yesterday the Republican caucus in the House met for a retreat of sorts at the Trump Kennedy Center. And the president had a few things to say about the legislative agenda for 2026 going into the crucial midterms. And one of the big contentious items happens to be the extension of the COVID-era subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Republicans want to come up with their own version of health care and health insurance reform. Democrats, of course, wanting to keep propping up Obamacare. It's going to be a thing. That's why we've been talking about it quite a bit on the show. There's one aspect, though, that currently is a quite contentious issue for Democrats, and that happens to be the Hyde Amendment. Now, this goes all the way back to former Speaker Hyde. Actually, he wasn't Speaker, was he, ever? I'm sorry. But he was Congressman from Illinois, Henry Hyde, who during some of the contentious debates over abortion during the Reagan era said, all right, listen, we're not going to solve this thing as long as Roe v. Wade is there, but one thing we can agree on is the tax dollars, federal tax dollars, should not go to pay for abortion. And this has sort of been sacrosanct and something that Republicans have always held as pretty critical to moving forward with any kind of federal funding for health care, et cetera. Now, of course, Democrat presidents who just love abortion, they've always figured out a way to find money to fund abortion in other ways. But the Hyde Amendment has been something that Republicans, it's a hill they've died on. Trump yesterday had this to say. Cut one.
Let the money go in the health care account or however you do it. Let the money go directly to the people. Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work. We're all big fans of everything, but you got to be flexible. You have to have flexibility.
Trump using that negotiator voice there, working the art of the deal. But for many Republicans, understandably, and conservatives, there's no flexibility when it comes to using tax dollars, using my money to pay for something that I find so immoral, abhorrent, and horrific, which is the killing of an unborn child. The stakes are raised even more for Republicans in that caucus as they were, one member short yesterday because of the untimely death of Congressman Doug LaMalfa, congressman from California, died at the age of 65 overnight. So Speaker Mike Johnson's majority, as thin as it was, just became that much thinner. Bethany, this is, and as I mentioned, we've got the president of SBA Pro-Life America joining us coming up at 6:05, but this is going to be a major, major problem for conservatives if they're told to be flexible on something as critical as funding abortion.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a Trump ploy, honestly. I think, obviously, you just heard the cut. We have audio of it. One of the negotiating tactics that Trump often uses, because he is a master negotiator, is signaling flexibility in public while kind of winking at you in private. And, I hope, as the president who killed Roe v. Wade, that there's winking happening behind the scenes. Yeah. Abortion is not a popular subject among the American people either way. Republicans, Democrats, no one likes talking about the yuckiness of killing unborn babies. It makes everyone uncomfortable. So I wonder if Trump, in saying this, is just trying to change the conversation.
Maybe. Or maybe when he gets into the negotiation room, he can say, listen, guys, I'm on record. I told them to be flexible,
right,
but my
exactly.
hands are tied.
Exactly.
These guys, they're zealots. You know me,
exactly.
I'm not like that, but right?
That's
he
psycho
may be playing
Mike
that
Johnson
game.
with all that Jesus stuff.
Exactly. And ultimately, I still think that this is a winning issue for midterms. You're right. People don't like the idea of abortion. And this is something that we Americans have all been able to agree on. You may have your position on abortion one way or the other, but you shouldn't be able to take my money against my will and pay for it, right?
Yep.
And that's something that, again, for decades, back when there was Roe v. Wade, now that there isn't Roe v. Wade, it should be even easier to be able to make that case.
So, I don't know. Cautiously hopeful.
Well, we'll see. You could be right, and I want to believe that, and I think that people are foolish if they try to second guess Trump's tactics and strategies, because he, generally speaking, gets it done.
Yep.
And it ends up okay. But we'll get into the details of it with one of the most important pro-life groups here in America. That would be SBA. Susan B. Anthony, thank you very much. She's ours, not the wacko lefts who like to claim her. Marjorie Dannon-Felser, she joins us coming up in, just about 20 minutes now. It's 5:43.
Later today on the Derek Hunter Show, 2026, and Democrats have already sided with an international drug smuggler and fraud. What anti-American stance will they take next? We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
Bethany, there is ongoing protests in the nation of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, protests and marches like we haven't seen really since the revolution of 1977. The video that I saw last night of one town, it looked as though this town had basically been completely overtaken by the protesters. In fact, at one point they put up a sign in Persian script that renamed a street Donald Trump Way, and they were chanting. Let me start from the beginning. Elon Musk replied to the Ayatollah's X account.
What timeline are we in?
I know. It's amazing. The Ayatollah has an X account. He posted something about how you would never bow to the people in the street or that they had a firm grip on power or whatever. Elon Musk replied to it and within an hour, the crowds on the streets were chanting what Elon Musk had tweeted on his X account. That's the power of how social media is sort of fueling what's going on there. It's an amazing thing to watch. Strangely, Western media has largely ignored this. They've done some small, quick clips of it, but BBC, even John Cleese, the comedian from Monty Python, was complaining that the BBC has basically ignored this story. CNN as well, not really covering it too much. According to the human rights activist news agency, 36 people were killed in these protests. And that was seemingly a red line that President Trump had drawn in a post that he put out over the weekend that said if the Iranian regime starts to turn their guns on the protesters, America would respond. So how do you think this develops or ends, Bethany?
So I think that what happened in Venezuela is putting wind in the sails of a lot of these protesters.
I think you're right.
I am, obviously a very online person, and so it's basically dawn. No, it's not dawn there yet. It's still overnight. And I'm seeing video from.
No, it's midday there now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was just
other
there.
way around. You spent too much time there. Yeah.
So I'm seeing video from the protests. Oh, it's actually daytime, and security forces are retreating from protesters in various parts of Iran. Senator Lindsey Graham sent 2 messages. One to the Iranian people, help is on the way, and to the Ayatollahs in Iran, if you continue to kill your citizens, you'll wake up dead. Trump is not Obama.
Listen, I think you're right to compare this to Venezuela in that we've now learned that we had some inside help there in Venezuela. We had some CIA assets who were very close to Maduro, who were tracking and giving us information. We know that Mossad and our partners in Israeli intelligence have had people on the ground in Iran for decades now. That was a big part of the strike that we engaged in against their nuclear facilities. So I would suspect that there are people within the government and military infrastructure who are ready at a moment's notice to turn on the Ayatollahs as soon as the tide on the street goes, and as soon as they know they're going to get backup and support from a friendly American government. That's why that message that Obama is no longer in the White House resonates. Yeah. Because you'll remember there were huge protests when Obama was president, and he basically
left them to dry.
Yeah, he left them.
We know that there are turncoats in Iran because Israel had incredible intelligence on the ground, and that doesn't come from nowhere. Yeah. So we know that the intelligence there is extensive, that there is a lot of anger and distrust of the regime among the Iranian people and among people who work for the regime, who work in the police forces and security forces and all of those things. They just needed the confidence that they could do this and have someone stand behind them, and they finally do.
Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince of the Shah of Iran, of course, who was ousted in 1979, he's been living in exile here in Northern Virginia. In fact, probably a WMAL listener for the last several decades. He was last seen in Egypt with a crowd on the street cheering him and waving the flag of the Shah's regime. Looks a lot like the Iranian flag, but it's got a lion holding a sword with the sun rising. He put out a video with that flag behind him, urging security forces and the military to join the protests as the tide is turning. And there are calls for him to step in and be the stabilizing force should the mullahs fall. Speaking of the mullahs falling, here, let's listen to exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who appeared on Fox News yesterday. Listen.
Look, in all these years, I've never seen an opportunity as we see today in Iran. The Iranian people are more than ever committed to bring an end to this regime, as the world has witnessed in the last few days. The level of demonstrations unprecedented in Iran, over 100 cities and millions of people on the street chanting death to the dictator, an end to this regime. And by God, it is about time that Iran gets its opportunity to free itself from a tyrannical regime.
Incredible moments here if this does work its way to fruition that we're all praying for. Speaking of the mullahs falling, the New York Post has a story that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who is the 86-year-old basically dictator of that nation, he already has his exit plan charted out. He's got a plane waiting. Should the regime fall, he will be flying where? To Moscow for protection.
He can join the Syrians. It can just be
exactly. It's exactly what Bashar al-Assad did when they fled Syria. Mm-hmm. Fascinating thing, and we'll keep watching it, and we'll keep covering it, even if our friends over on cable news don't seem to want to. It's 5:53.